The Crowd, a study of the popular mind, was written by Gustave Le Bon and first published in 1895. Le Bon was a French psychologist and sociologist who studied the behavior of groups and how people change when they are part of a crowd. During the late 19th century, Europe was going through many political and social changes, and crowds were becoming a major force in society. Le Bon wanted to understand why people acted differently when they were in a crowd compared to when they were alone. His book became very influential and is still studied today by people interested in psychology, politics, and mass movements. Le Bon begins by explaining that when individuals join a crowd, they lose their personal identity and take on the mindset of the group. This phenomenon can be linked to evolutionary psychology, where humans, as social animals, have developed instincts to conform and cooperate within groups for survival. When early humans lived in tribes, collective decision-making often ensured their safety against predators and enemy groups. However, in modern society, this instinct can manifest in ways that override rational thought, leading individuals to act based on group emotions rather than personal logic. He says that a crowd is not just a collection of individuals, but something new and different. People in crowds tend to act emotionally rather than logically, and they are easily influenced by strong leaders or simple ideas. This can be observed in historical mass movements, such as the French Revolution or more recent large-scale political protests. Le Bon argues that crowds think in a primitive way, almost like early humans or children. Because of this, they can be easily swayed by emotions like fear, anger, or excitement. He believes that rational thinking and individual judgment disappear when people become part of a large group. One of the key ideas in the book is the concept of contagion. Le Bon describes how emotions and ideas spread through a crowd like a virus. This is similar to modern psychological theories of social influence, such as social contagion theory, which explains how behaviors, emotions, and even misinformation can spread rapidly through communities. When one person starts shouting or acting aggressively, others quickly follow. This is why crowds often become unpredictable and sometimes violent. People copy the actions of those around them without thinking for themselves. This can be seen in riots, where a single act of aggression can escalate into widespread chaos. He also talks about suggestibility, which means that people in a crowd are easily influenced by a strong leader or a powerful message. This explains why crowds can be led in different directions depending on who is guiding them. The concept of suggestibility has been studied in cognitive psychology, showing that when people are placed in high arousal situations, their critical thinking diminishes, making them more likely to accept information uncritically. Propaganda and mass media have long exploited this tendency, as seen in wartime messaging or political campaigns that use emotional appeals to sway public opinion. Le Bon also discusses the different types of crowds. He says that some crowds are temporary, like a group of people watching a street performer, while others are more organized, like political movements or religious gatherings. He believes that some crowds are more dangerous than others, especially when they are driven by strong emotions or when they are manipulated by leaders with bad intentions. He points out that history is full of examples where crowds have played a major role in revolutions, riots, and social movements. While some of these movements bring positive change, others lead to chaos and destruction. A notable historical example is the rise of fascism in the 20th century, where large crowds were mobilized through emotionally charged rhetoric and propaganda, ultimately leading to devastating consequences. Another important part of the book is how leaders influence crowds. Le Bon explains that a successful leader of a crowd needs to use simple and clear messages that appeal to emotions rather than logic. He believes that people in a crowd do not respond well to complicated arguments or facts. Instead, they follow leaders who use strong words, symbols, and images to create powerful emotions. Leaders who understand how crowds work can control them and use them to achieve their goals. He warns that this power can be used for good or bad, depending on the intentions of the leader. Modern marketing and political strategy continue to use these principles, employing slogans, imagery, and carefully crafted speeches to influence public opinion. Le Bon also talks about the role of myths and illusions in crowd psychology. He says that crowds believe in ideas that might not be true, but they accept them because they are emotionally appealing. People in crowds often exaggerate things and see the world in black and white. This is why propaganda is so effective in influencing large groups. In today's world, social media has accelerated the spread of such illusions. Fake news, conspiracy theories, and viral misinformation often gain traction because they tap into the emotions of large groups, reinforcing collective beliefs without the need for factual accuracy. At the end of the book, Le Bon reflects on the future of crowds and their impact on society. He believes that as societies become more democratic and people gain more influence, crowds will play an even bigger role in shaping history. He warns that leaders who understand crowd psychology can use this power to control the masses, sometimes in dangerous ways. He also suggests that while crowds can be unpredictable and sometimes destructive, they can also bring about positive change if guided wisely. For example, peaceful social movements that push for civil rights or environmental reforms have successfully harnessed the power of collective action to bring about meaningful change. The Crowd, A Study of the Popular Mind, is an important book because it helps explain why people behave differently in groups than when they are alone. Le Bon's ideas have been used to understand social movements, political revolutions, and even advertising and marketing. The book remains relevant today because we still see crowds shaping history, whether in protests, political rallies, or social media trends. While some of Le Bon's ideas have been debated and updated by modern psychologists, his work provides a foundation for understanding mass behavior. By studying crowd psychology, we can learn how to think more critically and avoid being easily influenced by emotions and propaganda. In the end, the book teaches us about the power of groups and the importance of independent thinking in a world where crowds continue to shape our lives. Understanding these principles can help us navigate modern challenges, such as political polarization, media influence, and the effects of digital communication on group behavior.